Do we have any
There's no
public?
public, no.
Okay, good. Approval of prior minutes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see here. Oops, sorry, I lost my agenda here. A sec. Moving on to our architects update. Justin, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Since we met last week, there is not much new to report other than to say that we have continued to participate in the weekly OAC meetings. We're collaboratively with Colliers and Gilbane on RFIs, submittals, etc. The bulk of the work outside of the general construction continues to be scope reviews for the playscape bids that came in a week ago Friday. And I believe we had reported on that at last week's committee meeting. And other than that, there are some field reports that are part of your weekly update. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have regarding those items, or any questions that come up regarding the procurement items that I know that we'll be going over today.
Got it. Hearing no questions for Justin, moving on to the construction manager update. Bob, are you you're up?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
You got a picture of a transformer, I hope, on here somewhere?
I don't want to spoil anything. Hold
Okay,
tight.
okay. Just building a little suspense for you. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead. So we had our drone pilot come out a couple days ago. So I figured I'd start off with a cool 3D 360 image of the exterior. So hopefully this loads. We'll just give it a minute. And from here, it kind of loops, but gives you a good example, good aerial of what's going on the exterior of the site. And I thought it's kind of cool. It's nice with the snow too. It gives you a good image of what's going on.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the red fence at first, but definitely makes it.
Stands out. It gives you a nice defined border.
Nice pop.
So I can't pause it, but we'll come back to this. And I
Yep.
do have some photos. So now I'll jump over to the photos and give you a little more pointed update of what's going on. All right.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so this is just looking at that main entrance from the south elevation. So a couple notes here is that we did start the glazing. It's a little in the shadow, but we have started glazing that front entrance in curtain wall 6, and then we're in the process of glazing that big, large curtain wall 8. So that's some good progress that started over the last couple days. Here we continue on the west side closest to Mungertown Road. So this is the septic system being installed, the actual leaching fields. So I'm kind of standing where that west playground would be, looking towards I-95 and looking south. Where the excavator is here, we installed this section of the field, and we're continuing on one of the additional fields. So this keeps going through the winter and should be wrapping up early March, about 2 weeks. There's the money shot.
Wow.
It's big.
It's a big one. That's definitely a big one.
Oh,
I mean-
yeah. So that's 14,000 pounds. The crane they brought in to set that transformer was bigger than the crane that we used for the steel. But they did maintain their schedule. They were here on Friday and set this. We have an inspection with the town tomorrow to pass the secondary connection, and then Eversource can come out and flip the switch out on the pole to turn on power to the building. So it's imminent. Probably I would say in the next couple of days, early next week, we should have actual live power to the building.
How big is the transformer again? I don't remember. What was it's 1,000?
Yeah, it was 14,000 pounds. I think it's 2,300 kVA, or maybe 3,000, but it's a big guy.
Wow. That's
That's-
electric building, right? So,
Yeah, that thing will be spinning the meter when it's humming along.
well, hopefully we get it. So when we get our solar, it'll be going backwards.
So this is a good update in the gym. Actually, if you look closely, this gentleman's actually installing the supports for the basketball hoops. So we painted the structure, we drywalled at the skylights and finished off there. And we actually started the installation of the gym equipment. So they'll be doing the basketball hoops and the gymnasium divider current. So that'll be going in. So that's good progress there. This is actually looking from right outside the media center. You're looking down into the cafeteria. So that's the platform, and then the gym is over here. But this is good. Just wanted to show the progress here. As of like 2 weeks ago, we were still just about to start the fiberglass call wall installation. So we're actually progressing nicely on that and wrapping up. And we started sheetrocking, and this gentleman's actually starting to tape. So we're kind of getting in the finishes on that large cafeteria, and then it'll transition over towards the hallway in the media center. And then this is looking, so now I'm looking back where I was just sanding, and you can see we kind of have the stairs prepped in for the cafeteria grand stair. We started the sheetrock for the so we can continue with finishes by this stair. You can kind of see how we've sheetrocked that whole bump up area and are getting into the taping and get ready. Gonna push to get painting going there. This is not a most dramatic photo, but this is the picture of the kitchen area. So we're getting ready to finish up taping here and painting in the kitchen. And then we have a majority of the kitchen equipment ready to go. So the goal would be to get this taped, finished, FRP on the walls, and then start looking to bring in that gym equipment or the kitchen equipment in March. So figure that was a good one just to give you a snapshot of where the progress was in the kitchen. This is a photo of the main mechanical room. So a lot of progress in here. These are the domestic water heaters. These are the part of the geothermal system over here. And you can see a lot of the piping going in for the geothermal. So a lot of equipment moving in here, a lot of pipe. So we're progressing nicely here. I would say probably 60-75% of the way with the piping. Obviously, we have equipment, the power hookups and controls, but we're making good progress and should be substantially complete with the piping in here in early mid-March. So I figure it was a good one to show you the progress of how that room looks. And then as far as the smaller mechanical rooms, we actually have the heat pumps installed with the majority of them and are working on the connections to those as well. So we're moving right along with all the guts and all the parts and pieces we need to make the building function. And then the last slide is just kind of an update of where we stand with finishes. So this is I believe this is a pre-K bathroom. And you can see where we have the floor tile in and the wall tile going in. So we're moving right along through that main level A where the pre-K and the kindergarten are. And I'm starting the bathroom finishes to get in the fixtures in March. And then we started millwork as well. So this is another, I believe, pre-K classroom, maybe one of the kindergartens, but showing the cubbies installed. And then we're actually starting the millwork, the upper cabinets, the teacher wardrobe, and the sink and cabinets at those locations too. So underneath this protection is VCT. So the same kind of thing. We started with the VCT, worked into the bathrooms, and are working on the millwork. Following those activities, or at least following the VCT floor. So pushing right along. Main level area A is all into finishes at this point. We're holding off on the corridors, but even in March, probably mid-March, end of March, we'll be starting actually on the corridor finishes as well. And then we're pushing through A and into B and starting on finishes in main level B, and then we'll transition down. We probably won't be into finishes on lower level B, probably to closer to early April. So, but we have a nice flow through the building and just continuing to push along and get everyone chugging in order. So, any questions?
Making great progress. You're
Oh,
flying.
boy. Wonderful.
Thank you. And then just the last two other construction manager updates is just a heads up. We are looking to bid out the final cleaning. So probably maybe not the March SBC meetings, but probably early the first one in April. We'll have that all scoped out and ready to go for approval to award final cleaning. And then just outside of that, the other kind of administrative thing, just to keep you in the loop, is we're working on change order, state change order 4. So we'll have that ready for submission to Colliers and the team. I would say right around March 1st.
Great. Any questions for the CM? Otherwise, we'll move on to Adam with the relatively boring stuff about paying the bills. So
Keeping the cash flow.
Well, that introduction.
yeah.
So just very quickly, and then again, per usual, the bulk of my talking comes in procurement and the invoices. A couple other side items we're working on include coordination with the fiber internet vendor, that's the town vendor. So looking to have that installed the week of the 24th. It's looking like the 27th is when they'll make that pull into the main network closet, and then starting to install some of these components that we've been approving and a couple more tonight in that main network closet that first part of March. The sequencing there is get the main closet lit, get a network up and running, as well as some other components in the sub closet. And then once that's established, that kind of ties in with some of the things that Gilbane is working on insofar as permanent power and some of the mechanical systems. So that way, April, May, the actual startup and testing, balancing, all that can occur with the network involved, so everything speaks to each other, everything speaks to what it needs to in the building management system. So that's a component we're working on, as well as just some of the end of project site planning. So the substantial completion date for the building, the main completion date insofar as when it turns over to the town is at the end of May. There are still components that'll be worked on and installed after May, overwhelmingly site work and punch list items. So we're working through what that, at a more granular level, what some of those site installation components looks like in June and July, so we can coordinate with playground installation, and to a lesser extent, furniture, since that's been the building, but projecting ahead to some of those last mile items now, so we know what the rest of the flow will look like now that we're at it, and we can kind of speak more intelligently to at the day and week level, as opposed to just, yes, in June we'll be doing additional plantings type of thing. Any questions on any of that before we jump into sort of the meat and potatoes of some of the items we've been working on for furniture, AVIT playground? Oh, okay, then I will share my screen here. First item is a little bit of a housekeeping item. This is construction change directive number 2. There's no action for the committee tonight. This is just an item where it was approved on an expedited basis, so I'm reporting back here just to make sure the committee is informed. So this was reviewed and approved by Peter and George for an item that needed to start occurring in the field right away. It's for additional structural clips at the canopy because the canopy was moving more than anticipated, so it was going to cause some issues with the roofing. So this is being tracked on a time and material basis to Tecton and Colliers. So again, no action item needed here, but I wanted to report back that this got approved and authorized to proceed.
Perfect.
All right. Next. So these are the items we do need votes on, or well, rather would be submitted for votes. Typical tracking update here. So the prior meetings, this is what was approved. Tonight, you'll see there's a big sort of the second to last big wave of items. The playground bid, that's a standalone item that's on the docket, as well as some AVIT equipment, the total of which from this pool is 49,000. One of the last votes is for another change order, but that's separate from this pool. This just represents, what we've been bidding versus what was estimated for that discrete scope of work. So just over $1 million this evening. And again, kind of coming down to the bottom line, we're still tracking at underneath what our revised anticipated budget was planned to be. Crept up a little bit because the playground bid came in a little higher than was expected, but again, nothing so grave that it's not within the margin on what we were expecting. And there's some anticipation that this number, this 265, might be coming down a bit as some of the vendor pricing that's been pushed back a bit, as Justin and I have been working with the vendors to make sure we're getting the right pricing. The hope is that some of this comes down also. But in any case, still positive news as we're going forward insofar as staying within what the anticipated costs were. So we have 5 motions, the first of which is for the tractor, just a John Deere maintenance tractor for the maintenance facility group. That's for just over 17,000. The second item and the third item have a little bit unique. There are 4 scopes of work that we'd anticipated, but the contracting method that's being proposed is slightly different than what we had anticipated. The first is for the actual wall mounts for the Promethean boards. We had originally anticipated getting these off of state contract. Based on some things that I think myself and Justin are discovering about the IT vendor world, the vendor that we anticipated getting that through, actually a CDW, they're no longer on the state contract. However, to get the mounts that the district wanted and typically used is cheaper to go through CDW than it is to go through the other vendor on state contract to get something else. The delta is, I had a little calculation, something like $8,000 less expensive to go this route than on state contract. We will anticipate submitting it as eligible because it's going to go under a change order to an existing contract. But even if the state looks unfavorably upon it, it's still a nominal difference. I think like $2,000 cost, but it gets the mounts that the district is used to. So again, if anyone were looking and saying, why isn't this on the state contract? I thought that's what we were getting. The route here is to maintain the product that was requested at a unit cost that's more favorable than the state contract pricing alternate would be.
Adam, did they
And-
mention why they were no longer on the contract, but holding a price under the state contract?
I don't recall. Did you remember hearing a reason, Justin? It's just they're no longer on there. They were listed when we went there onto the before
Correct.
the state.
The contract was not updated. It had expired in the time period between us working with them and pulling the cord. The reality is, when we were going through the sole source request, because the Promethean boards themselves were the subject of a sole source request. Had we included them in the sole source request, the likelihood of that being approved was at the time, we felt that the proper avenue was to do state contract. We think the proper avenue at this point, given the kind of cost differential between the state contract and inclusion into the bid number, is the appropriate avenue. So as Adam had mentioned.
And we're only at risk of 20%, worst case, right? If
Yes.
Third item, or rather the item right now, item number 3 is for backpack vacuums. Similar situation where the state contract vendor has let us know that they're not able to or willing to sell this product as requested by maintenance facilities. Fortunately, the vendor with whom Peter and his crew worked through, has a far more favorable unit price than the state contract pricing. I think it's something like $6,000 overall savings to go the route that that keeps consistent with what they're used to for bags and batteries and all that good stuff. In this scenario, if again, it would be anticipated submitting it for consideration as eligible based on much more favorable unit pricing. But even if the state did deem it ineligible, this one for sure you save more money by going with the less expensive product than your reimbursement would be worth with the other products. So it's pretty close to a no-brainer to get what you want for net less money than the state contract would have offered. Item number 4, this is the big one with the playgrounds. So we did go out to public bid for the playground package. There's sometimes projects historically have gone the state contract route. We did evaluate that. State contract has a maximum value of $100,000, so that was not a viable option for this project. And similarly, we did ask the state about other consortium type contract pricing, but the state indicated that those would be ineligible for reimbursement because they're not a DAS state contract. So the only avenue left was tried and true bid methods. So we did put this out to bid. There was only one vendor that submitted a bid. When there was outreach, we had both done proactive outreach and received questions from other manufacturers and vendors, but ultimately they decided not to bid. As you can see, there's a bit of a bit of an overage, but nothing too excessive in terms of the estimated price versus the bid price. We did do scope clarification meetings, check references, has positive references. So this one bidder appears to be a low and responsive bidder to the overall package being submitted. So they're being put forth tonight for potential approval.
So the state actually ended up costing more money by not allowing us to use the state contract by competitively bidding it, in effect, right? If I read that right?
That's what the math would suggest.
But we got the product we wanted, right? I know there's a lot of customization in the business. So but this is the actual design, the basis of design, I should say.
Correct. This is the basis of design that was reviewed with the school, colors, specific models, etc. Yes.
It's a miracle. Thank God.
And then the last item for procurement is potential change to Omnidata's contract. So if you recall, Omnidata was the low responsive bidder for the network switches. We had I'll call it a kickoff meeting on Friday with Gilbane about some of the last mile connection points in the main network room. The result of that meeting determined that there was another 3 switches and some cabling that needed to be purchased. So I spoke with Omnidata because this is something we want to turn around quickly. They held their pricing at the bid pricing for the switches. And then the cabling added there's another 20 cables, and that came out to just about 8,000. So this change order would provide those last mile items for switches and cables so they can install the switches in the network closets when we start here in 2 weeks or so. All right, I'll pause there. I have the draft motions, which I'll put on the screen, but obviously there's a fair amount there, so happy to answer any questions.
Hearing none, I would like to ask someone to make a motion. Do we have any volunteers tonight?
I can keep reading. I know how.
Thank you.
Sorry, I need a second to close the doors.
Okay. You mean a second to second?
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the quote 32221844 dated 1/16/25 from United AG and Turf, the amount of $17,053.41 for the maintenance tractor per state Connecticut state contract 17PX0118.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next,
Motion to approve quote PGPH 103 dated 1/16/25 from CDW Government. The amount of $29,700 for Promethean board mounts as a charge per order to PO 202555711.
do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve quote 7881963 dated 2/12/25 from Imperial Dade, the amount of $2,297.19 for backpack vacuums.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to award Phase 4 work for Playground 2 Pro-Built Designs in the amount of $985,000 per their bid open 2/7/20. I'm sorry, my phone rang, which never happens. 2/7/2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve quote 022621 dated 2/18/25 from Omnidata LLC in the amount of $37,857.64 for additional IT equipment as a change order to their existing contract for network switches.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Next, Adam, you have the big one? Okay,
Thanks for that. Moving on to the invoice packet. This month, again, right of a little over $3 million as we've had the last few months. Monthly invoices or standard invoices from Colliers and Tecton. This BVH invoice at the top here, we had some coordination with their accounts payable team or accounts receivable team, I should say. So this bigger value is the culmination of the past couple months lumped into one invoice. Some advertisement RFP payments, typical town staffing charge, and then Gobain's invoice number 11 for just over 3.2 million.
do you have a motion? Yep,
I do.
I'll make that motion. Motion to approve invoice package dated 2/18/25, including invoices from BVH, Colliers, Hearst Media, the Town of Madison, and Tecton in the amount of $91,144.70, and construction pay requisition 11 from Gilbane in the amount of $3,245,494.07 for the total approved $3,336,638.77.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anything else, Adam, on your
Nope. Next meeting should be in March, so I think that'll be the target for cleaning up most of those remaining big dollar values. We will still have smaller direct purchases for some of the AVIT components, little bits and odds in here, but the hope is that by the March 3rd meeting, all these 6-figure numbers or 5-figure numbers get resolved for the furniture packages.
beautiful? Raquel, do we have any public comment?
No,
Any remarks from the assembled board?
Continues to look great. Thank
Yeah.
you. Moving along.
Good job, everybody.
Got it. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll do that.
Okay,
I'll
second.
second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Bye, everybody.